kilos, we get 160 pounds. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use while loops in Python. We use while loops to execute a block of code multiple times, and they're often useful in building interactive programs and games. In a future tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build a simple game using a while loop. So let's get started with the basics. We write a while statement, and right after that, we type a condition followed by a colon. As long as this condition is true, the code that we write in this block will be repeatedly executed. Here's an example. We can define a variable like I, as in short for index, and set it to 1. Now, we set our condition to I less than or equal to 5. So as long as I is less than or equal to 5, we can print I on the terminal. And then we need to increment I by 1. So we set I to I plus 1. The reason we do this is that if we don't do this, I will be 1 forever. So we'll end up with an infinite loop because this condition will always be true. 1 is always less than 5. So in every iteration of this loop, we increment I by 1. So at some point, I is going to be 6. And then that is when this condition will be false. And then we'll jump out of this loop. Okay. Now to demonstrate how everything works, after this loop, I'm going to add a print statement, say done. So note that these two lines are indented, so they're part of the while block. Okay. Now let's go ahead and run this program to see what happens. So take a look. We get the numbers 1 to 5 followed by done. So here's how this program gets executed. First, we set I to 1. Now Python interpreter executes line 2. This condition is true because I is less than 5. So I is printed on the terminal and then incremented by 1. Then the control moves back to the beginning of the while loop. So it doesn't go to the next statement. So we come back here. Now we are in the second iteration. In the second iteration, I is 2. And because 2 is less than 5, our condition is still true. So I will be printed on the terminal. And once again, it will be incremented by 1. So at some point, I is going to be 6. And that's when this condition will be false. So our loop will be terminated. And then this done message will be printed on the terminal. So this is the basics of while loops. Now let's make this program a little bit more interesting. Here we can write an expression like this. We add a string, and in this string we add an asterisk. And then we multiply this string by I. So with this expression, we can repeat a string. When we multiply a string by a number, that string will be repeated. For example, if I is 2, this expression will produce a string with 2 asterisks. Okay, now let's run the program and see what we get. So we get this little triangle shape here because in the first iteration, I is 1. So 1 times an asterisk produces 1 asterisk. In the second iteration, I is 2. So